ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Capital, to the interviews with our 2012 tributes for the Literature Games. Our first two tributes are Mark Antony and the ghost of Julius Caesar. Mark Antony, Caesar once told you that he did not trust Cassius. After all that's happened, how do you feel about this?
Well, Caesar was always a noble man, and he had reason to not trust Cassius, because a backstabbing Cassius gathered the conspirators to kill Caesar, even convincing Brutus, a friend of Caesar's.
Ghost of Caesar? The conspirators believe that you are ambitious. However, Mark Antony clearly does not.
Right. Well, Mark Antony said it just as well as I could. At my funeral, Mark Antony spoke to a crowd. He pointed out that I refused the crown 3 times on the Lupercal, brought captives home, and cried for the poor of Rome. Brutus and Cassius believed I walked like a giant over others with ambition. But given what Antony said, I do not feel like I was ever ambitious.
I see. Speaking of that speech at the funeral, Antony, can you tell the audience exactly what you said that day that changed their mindset? Before your speech, they rejoiced at Caesar's death. After your speech, however, they mourned, not to mention the anger they developed toward the conspirators.
Well, I started out addressing them. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar, the noble Brutus. Hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest. For Brutus is an honorable man, so they are all honorable men. Come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. And he hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When that the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure, he is an honorable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke. But here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me.
And pause you will. Remarkable speech, just amazing. Ghost of Caesar, when Brutus and the other conspirators took their stabs at you, how did you feel?
Well, to be honest, I was hurt. When the conspirators tried to stab me, of course, I was shocked. But when I saw Brutus stab, well, that was different. If even my friend thought I should die for Rome, then I felt I should give up life. I shouldn't fight death anymore. He was my friend.
I think everyone's wondering, can you explain your last few words?
Well, I said, et tu, Brute. I just meant, and you, Brutus? Like I said, the fact that even Brutus killed me was my final thinking.
How interesting. I heard a funny story about how a special lady had told you not to go. True or false?
Unfortunately, it is true.
Well, women do know best.
Ha ha ha!
Mark Antony, Brutus has gone through a lot recently. The battle between you, Octavius, and Lepidus versus Brutus and Cassius was already a lot of stress. During the battle, there was a very heated argument between Cassius and Brutus, as I understand, about money. He got news that his wife killed herself too. On top of this, he started seeing the ghost of Caesar foreshadowing his battles. With all of this in mind, how do you view Brutus?
Well, through it all, I still feel the same about Brutus. He was in fact the noblest Roman of all of us. Cassius and the other conspirators, even some of my army, acted for the wrong reasons. Revenge, jealousy, ambition. But Brutus, he acted for the good of his country. He loved Rome. He killed Caesar because he believed it was best for Rome, with no other personal reasons in mind. I respect him.
In the end of the battle, Cassius killed himself after the death of his friend Titanus. Brutus and Cassius' side loses the battles, but Brutus runs into his sword. Before he dies, he comments that Caesar can finally rest happy. Caesar, is this true? Did you leave the battle truly happy?
Well, Caesar Flickerman, that is a tough question. Most people, if they were murdered, they would like to be avenged. I am glad for that, but many of my friends and fellow Romans died. I was not happy watching good men fall, many by their own sword.
Well, gentlemen, we look forward to seeing the Romans on fire in the arena.
Huh!
Now, let's talk to our tribute from London, Dr. John Watson. Tell me, Dr. Watson, what made this murder case so interesting to you?
Well, Sir Charles Baskerville was found in the woods alone. Clues led to a heart attack. But there were large hound footprints located near his body.
And did the footprints connect to the crime?
Well, it's interesting because the Baskervilles have a family curse, which speaks of a large bloodhound that chases them down and kills them.
And what was your conclusion of the mysterious murder case?
The nephew of Sir Charles Baskerville discovered his uncle's fear of the family curse and got his own bloodhound to run after Sir Charles in an attempt to kill him. The nephew only wanted the family inheritance. As Sir Charles was running, he had a heart attack. It was a very mysterious death indeed.
So, Watson, tell us, if the story's called Sherlock Holmes, why are you narrating the entire story?
Well, Sherlock was in hiding during this case. I am normally the one who notates the stories, but in this particular case, I pretty much solved the whole mystery by myself.
So it sounds like Sherlock doesn't exactly keep you informed on things.
Oh, Caesar, don't even get me started. Sherlock.
Oh, well, then I won't. It was great having you, but our 3 minutes is up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, let's get a sneak peek of our 2012 literature games. And tributes, may the odds be ever in your favor.